Yo, what's going on, everybody? So, I wanted to hop on here today and tell you the story of why I cut off all my friends. To give you a little bit of context, these were my childhood friends, the people I grew up with from elementary school all the way through high school. When I was younger, I didn't really know where I belonged. I hung out with two different friend groups. One I'll call the good kids, the other the bad kids. I kind of existed in both of these worlds because honestly, I just didn't know where I fit in. I grew up in a super small town that everybody called the Lake. It was 20 minutes removed from the main town where all the schools were. So all the kids I grew up hanging out with, they all lived at the lake as well. They were just the most convenient people to hang out with. So naturally, they became my friends. Everybody who lived here had the reputation of being a bad kid, and that's exactly what we were. In elementary school, it wasn't anything serious, just typical little kid shit. But once we got to high school, that's when it escalated. That's when we really got into our criminal behavior. In the very first week of high school, at 14 years old, a bunch of us skipped class, smoked weed, and went and stole a bunch of things from a local convenience store. At the time, I thought I was doing like the most badass thing imaginable. We started doing that stuff all the time. We got a reputation of being like the bad stoner kids in our grade. So the older kids would invite us to their parties. I thought this was the coolest thing in the world. I was like going around flexing it all the time. I thought it was a privilege. Even though I was hyped on it, it didn't matter. In my low life mind, me and all my friends, we were still scheming. When we would go to these parties, we'd try and hit licks. There was this one party we went to. It was pretty early on in my high school career. Well, in the middle of it, a massive fight broke out. It was like two, three dudes attacking one guy. And it's because this one individual accidentally knocked over a table and a bunch of bongs that were on it shattered. So they freaked out and they beat the shit out of him. Bad, like really bad, to the point where he was hospitalized. The kids were charged. It was a big deal. A bunch of kids left the party because they didn't want to like watch this brutal attack. I mean, they were hitting him with like bricks and rocks. It was bad. Other people were just enamored by it, watching or screaming. Not me and my friends. We capitalized on this moment. Of course, the only place our minds went to were like, everybody's distracted, quick, grab the weed off the ground. We ran to the house. We stole a bunch of like Xbox games. We ransacked the medicine cabinet. We stole a bunch of pill bottles. It was literally probably like a diagnosed illness, prescribed by the pharmacy. And we just were so dumb. We just stole that shit. Low lives, idiots. Like, I don't know, regrettable, but that's just to show you where our minds were at. When we weren't at parties, we were usually hanging out at this one kid's house. It was our main hangout because his mom let us get away with everything. When I was younger, I thought she was the coolest person on planet Earth. Looking back now, I realize I'm pretty sure she was just very mentally ill. When I say let us get away with everything, I mean she bought her son, the kid I hung out with, a full bottle of Skull vodka for his 13th birthday. That could literally kill him. It was crazy. She would buy us at 14 and 15 booze, cigarettes, give us weed. She would let us party there. She took the mindset of the as long as you're doing it here, I know you're safe to the extreme. We would have these massive bonfires. We would have skid fires. We'd throw couches on it. Anything we could find, we were burning it. One time, we literally burnt down her entire shed with everything in it. She didn't care. She didn't even ask a single question about it. I'm not sure if she even noticed. We would climb up on the roof and we would like make Molotov cocktails, light our names in the grass with gasoline, climb on the roof, whip those things down, and then it would explode. The whole front lawn would go on fire. It was massive, right? Because they were sitting on like 4 or 5 acres. So we would make our initials or write our names huge. I don't even know how nobody called the fire department because we would have this place. It looked like the whole property was burning down. And she didn't care. She would stay up in the living room watching Criminal Minds like nothing was going on. We would steal her whip and like go for joy rides, probably wasted, underage, no license. And we would do this with like all my friends. They would steal their parents' cars. But with them, it was like an ordeal. With this mom, she knew we did it. We didn't hide it at all, and she didn't care. She never asked us about it. It's crazy, right? So obviously, you can see when we were younger why we thought she was the coolest person ever. But now looking back, it's like, oh, she was not right in the head. When we stole these whips, we'd usually take them to like Walmart or a random neighborhood and go car hopping. If you don't know what that is, we were just checking to see if other cars were unlocked. If they were, we were going to ransack it, take whatever we could get our hands on. Don't do that. I'm just telling you about it to enforce the narrative of how lost and bad we were. If we weren't doing this, we were probably tormenting like other local business owners. There was a lot of gas stations and convenience stores around our houses. The store owners kind of liked us. They were friendly, right? Because I think they knew we were just like troubled kids, but they definitely didn't want us hanging around as much as we did. They called the cops on us a bunch of times. One time, I remember me and my so called friend were in one of these stores. We get in this massive scrap to the point where we're knocking over, you know, those old white shelves that used to be in video stores and convenience stores? There was a bunch of those. We knocked over like two of them, punching the shit out of each other. His stuff was going everywhere. He was screaming, saying he was going to call the cops. Then we went outside. It was Halloween time. He had a bunch of pumpkins on display, and we were like smashing them against the building. We were just horrible. We just tormented these people for no reason. I actually look back on this regrettably, and I had other friends. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I went between the two worlds, the good kids and the bad kids. So I had weekends where I'd be hanging out with these good kids on like a Saturday. We'd be playing Halo Reach, eating pizza, watching movies, having fun, right? And then on the Sunday, I'd be out till like 2 a.m. smoking weed and stealing from cars. It was a crazy, crazy switch up. It was actually a lot to deal with. I just had no idea where I belonged. The bad kids, they stole from me. I never stole anything from them. I thought crossing that line of stealing from your friends was crazy work, but they did it to me. I didn't even trust these kids being around my like phone and wallet. I never let them come over to my house. I didn't trust them around any of my parents' stuff or my own. Like that just goes to show you I didn't even trust these so-called friends. One time I smoked with these kids, which I did all the time, but there was this one specific time where I guess somebody had taken pills from their house or like their sister or something. I don't know where they came from, but they crushed them up and they put them in like a bowl of weed I was about to smoke and didn't tell me. So they laced my shit. I had a horrible time. I don't know what it was to this day. I didn't know it was in there, and it was one of the worst highs I've ever had. And I was very young. I was probably like 14 years old. So I freaked out. I went home. I came home, and for like 10 hours, man, I was fucked up for a long, a long time. Like I said, I live at the lake. It's a very small neighborhood where everybody knows everyone. Well, these people moved in. There was like five of them in a house. They were in their like early 30s, late 20s, way older than us. We were 14, 15. Well, they sold drugs and got high. That's all they did. Well, some of my friends at the time, they met them probably buying weed off them at the lake. First of all, it's weird enough to be selling weed and like other shit to 14-year-old kids when you're in your 30s. It's like it's like straight out of a comedy movie, like Pineapple Express or some shit. But then they took it a step further. They started inviting us over to the house. And when we were younger, we thought that was cool, so we went. But very quickly, I was like, fuck this. What are we doing? We were sitting in this house with these people doing hard drugs, like nodding off in the living room while we were watching TV and smoking weed, thinking it was like cool. Very quickly, I realized this was not for me. I started realizing near the end of high school as I got older and a bit more mature, there was never any real foundational friendship here. The only thing holding us together was a shared interest in getting fucked up, stealing, and getting in trouble. They weren't reliable or trustworthy. We didn't even have the same sense of humor. Whenever I was around like the bad kids, I just felt anxious and uneasy. I was never myself. When I hung out with the good kids though, it was complete opposite. I felt comfortable, like I was around genuine friends. Some of them are still my friends to this day. But the final straw when I decided enough was enough, one afternoon after school, I was playing Payday 2 with one of my good friends, no stress, having fun, and then one of the bad kids texted me saying he had stolen his dad's car, they had a case of beer, and they were heading to grab some smokes, chill, whip the car around, whatever. And I was like, I don't know. But then I was like, you know what, fuck it, sure. Yes, come get me. But the second I got in that car, I regretted it. I instantly realized how different I felt. You know, I was just like laughing and enjoying myself, no cares in the world. And then the second I got in the car, I was like tense and nervous and just uneasy in a bad mindset. After like 20 minutes of whipping around with them, I was like, you know what, dude, just take me home. They were pissed because, you know, we had to backtrack, but I was like, I don't care, bro. Just take me home. I'm done. And then after that, that was it. Something clicked that day. I don't know what it was, but I never hung out with them again. Obviously, going to the same school and being from the same town, I've bumped into them. I have them on social media. I see what they're up to. There was no animosity, no bad blood. They didn't bat an eye. They felt the same way. Like I said, there was no real foundational friendship. So once I just stopped hitting them up and coming around, they never said a thing. They didn't care. So I just only hung out with the good kids moving forward. I've seen what the other kids have been up to. I have a video on this channel called Reconnecting with Old Friends Was a Mistake, and it proves my point. A lot of them went nowhere, and since that video, because that took place in 2022 time, things have gotten worse. I mean, unfortunately, some of the kids I used to associate with, some of them have passed away, some of them are in prison, and some of them I have absolutely no idea. If you find yourself in a similar situation, if the people around you are bringing you down and making you feel uneasy or like you can't be yourself, it's time to reassess. Find people who lift you up, respect you, and thrive for more. If you made it this far, I appreciate you. Peace.